Hello and welcome to WizVids. Today we have an amazing guest, the world's leading socio-Harry Potterologist and author of the book, The Ministry. It's Broken. Welcome, Drew Gum. So what exactly do you do?
Well, Fiona, what I do is I analyze the wizarding world and our counterpart, the muggle world. I figured out what us as wizards are doing wrong, and we try to fix it.
Very interesting. So today's topic, we are going to discuss people's issues that they have with the Ministry of Magic. Here comes a clip.
Good morning, children. Ordinary wizarding level examinations. OWLs, more commonly known as owls. Study hard and you will be rewarded. Fail to do so and the consequences may be severe. Your previous instruction in this subject has been disturbingly uneven. But you'll be pleased to know, from now on, you will be following a carefully structured, ministry-approved course of defensive magic. Yes.
There's nothing in here about using defensive spells?
Using spells? Well, I can't imagine why you would need to use spells in my classroom.
We're not going to use magic.
You will be learning about defensive spells in a secure, risk-free way.
In this clip, we see the Ministry of Magic's interference with Hogwarts education. In your professional opinion, how does this affect the students?
Well, Fiona, in my professional opinion, I see a huge connection from the OWL examinations to the No Child Left Behind Act. And as I say in my book, The Ministry, It's Broken, sold on Amazon. Government involvement in the education of Hogwarts has prevented real knowledge and self-discipline skills that are crucial to witchcraft and wizardry. The safe and secure environment where Hogwarts students learn from a textbook rather than from real-world experiences prevent them from gaining skills necessary to combat and defend themselves from the dark forces.
How very interesting. That is amazing. And now our next clip will be featuring how the ministry may be causing these discriminations with our magical creatures and half-breeds.
You have no business here, Centaur. This is a ministry matter. Lower your weapons. I warn you, under the law, as creatures of near-human intelligence. How dare you, filthy half-breed! Incautious!
Please stop it! Please!
No, enough! I will have order! Filthy animal! Do you know who I am? Do something! Tell them I mean no harm!
I'm sorry, Professor. I must not tell lies.
After looking at this clip, we plainly see some wizards' distaste with magical creatures and half-breeds. Do you think the Ministry of Magic perpetuates these ideas?
Why, yes, Fiona, I do. I believe that the Ministry of Magic discriminates against these magical creatures. As I said in my book, the wizarding world is not a good place to be different. Giants, centaurs, house elves, werewolves, goblins, and muggleborns are just some of the groups we see treated as second-class citizens, or even slaves by some of the wizarding community. Most wizards grow up and learn these prejudices before they're even 3 or 4. The ministry bans non-human magic creatures from carrying wands, permits house elves to be enslaved for generations at a time to 1 or 2 families, and does nothing to help wizards who face prejudice due to being a werewolf. So, the lack of support from the ministry for any sort of rights for non-human magical creatures stands in contrast to really quite progressive equality laws we see worldwide in the Muggle world. And it's especially important to note that since centaurs or giants can't exactly live with humans, the only people they have any interaction with are wizards. The ministry surely has a duty to show these creatures, don't they? Another source I see is my colleague, Jen Sims. Makes a book called The Sociology of Harry Potter and the Wizarding World. And in one of these chapters, she talks about this and about how these creatures are treated. And she says, most creatures in the Wizarding World do not fare well. Some lose their lives, some are given away, others are set loose when their usefulness reaches an end. The Wizarding Society lives with these creatures, interacts with them, but does not consider them more to be body parts, study aids, or sources of food. So, this is not a very good thing. We have the dragon's heartstring and the unicorn hair, and we take parts of animals and we don't even ask them. So, this is a huge discrimination.
How fascinating. It's very eye-opening. My friend, who sadly was bitten by a werewolf, is terrible. She can hardly find a job with this new legislation of act for anti-werewolves. It's terrible.
Yes.
Well, now on to our next clip.
He's been attacking Dumbledore as well. Fudge is using all his power, including his influence at the Daily Prophet, to smear anyone who claims the Dark Lord has returned. Why?
Is it true that the Ministry of Magic uses its own power to censor its people?
Why, yes, Fiona. I believe the Ministry of Magic has been censoring the Daily Prophet and the information that it gives to the people of the wizarding community for a very long time now. I believe those with opposing political views and those with differing opinions don't really get to put their opinions out there and get to do what they really want. As I said in my book, this is a real problem for people with different views being represented in the Wizarding world and ensuring there's proper scrutiny of the government. There aren't any protections of free speech we'd expect from Muggle governments in our community. We see undue interference with Hogwarts at unrighteous time as the High Inquisitor of Hogwarts. Of course, the state has to ensure the education of young people is up to scratch, but it doesn't justify that many of the educational decrees passed that year will refuse to teach the students how to combat dark magic.
That is very interesting. And hold on. I am getting information from my connections at Hogwarts that teachers were actually banned from discussing anything but those subjects to students. That is just a clear violation of their natural human right to freedom of speech. Well, on to our next clip.
Disciplinary hearing of the 12th of August into offences committed by Harry James Potter, resident at number 4 Privet Drive, Little Whinging, Surrey. Interrogators Cornelius Oswald Fudge, Minister for...
Witness for the defence, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore.
You got our message that the time and place of the hearing had been changed, did you?
I must have missed it, but by a happy mistake, I arrived at the ministry 3 hours early. Charges?
The charges against the accused are as follows: that he did knowingly and in full awareness of the illegality of his actions produce a Patronus charm in the presence of a Muggle. Do you deny producing said Patronus?
No.
Are you aware that you were forbidden to use magic outside school while under the age of 17?
Yes, I was.
Witches and wizards of the Wizengamot.
I was only doing it because of the Dementors.
Dementors? In Little Whinging?
Yeah, that's quite clever. Muggles can't see Dementors, can they, boy? Highly convenient.
I'm not lying. There were 2 of them, and if I hadn't...
Enough. I'm sorry to interrupt what I'm sure would have been a very well-rehearsed story, but since you can produce no witnesses of the event...
Pardon me, Minister, but as it happens, we can.
See in this clip that the minister has too much power over the Wizengamot. What do you think about the balance of power in the Ministry of Magic?
Well, Fiona, I believe that the Minister of Magic holds too much power over the Wizengamot. There is no separation of powers. There is no judiciary, no legislative, and no executive. It is just the Minister of Magic's executive power over everything. We see this in a lot of the trials that happen. We see it in Harry whenever Dobby comes into his house and he gets a letter that says he's in trouble for it. But then we also see it when he blows his aunt up, but there's no punishment. He just gets a slap on the wrist. But then when he tries to defend himself from Dementors, he gets expelled pretty much. Almost. So where's the there's no line here to see what's really happening. We also see this when Buckbeak's trial happens and they bring an axe to it. But it's not decided that he's going to die. They've already decided that he's already going to be executed. So that's also severely wrong. So as I say it in my book, Kakarov's release also is turning spy for the ministry. A completely different issue is so much different and less justified, which is compared to in the Muggle world where they take criminals and turn them back around as spies. So we see also when Sirius escapes Azkaban, the ministry decides that the Dementor's kiss can be performed on him, a change of sentence that was never approved by any judicial body in the Wizengamot. So imagine if the government decided that any escaped murderer, if found, would be killed. That's even before we find out that Mr. Crouch has sent Sirius to Azkaban without even a trial in the first place, which is severely bad. Even those that make it to the courtroom, we see that there are Dementors present at all hearings, and there's little that you could do to give a calm defense when having a Dementor sitting there staring at you. Worse yet, if you're convicted, they become your jailers, and then you lose anything nice and happy. So if that doesn't count as cruel and unusual punishment, I don't know what there is.
You've made some very interesting points that I do say would make our audience think a lot about what's happening with our ministry.
Every day, a house elf is forced to punish himself. Every day, a hippogriff is executed for demanding the respect they deserve. Help these magical creatures live in peace. For just 3 sickles a day, you can adopt a magical creature. When you do, we'll send you an honorary postcard with the name of the creature you're helping. Help these creatures to live free. Ordinary wizards and witches like you and I can make a difference. So let's make a difference.
Was a word from our sponsors. Today we've seen the ministry, but what are some solutions?
Well, Fiona, I believe that one of the solutions is that the minister holds too much power, so we should have a separation of powers. I believe that the minister should control the executive portion, the Wizengamot should control the judiciary, and we have not yet decided on the legislative portion, but we shall create one with the people. Second of all, we should have transparency in the government because there's too many secrets that are being hidden with the Ministry of Magic. We have the Ministry of Magic covering up so much stuff that everyone doesn't even know what's going on anymore. And third of all, we have an initiative that the people are making, both Muggle and Wizard together. It is called Represent Us. It is a cross-partisan movement to bring anti-corruption laws to cities around the country with the eventual aim of filling the Wizengamot with real politicians, those that are going to make a difference. People who really represent the people and their constituents. It's going to take time and patience, but together we can make it possible.
Well, that was something.